Hello and welcome to another Schoology 101 video. The purpose of this one is to show some tips and tricks as far as how to set up an effective course structure. So, especially over the course of COVID, I've heard so many students and parents be just really confused about how some teachers have set up their course. Having seen some of them, I've seen some very effective setups and very not effective setups. So I just want to kind of give you how I do it, how to utilize the folders, just to give you some ideas of what has worked for me. So you'll see right here, this is my current college algebra course, and I have lots of folders. So it should be pretty obvious these are folder icons. Um, Within the folders are activities. Okay, I have one titled practice work. My students know this is where graded assignments live. They don't have to wonder where stuff is. I also name my assignments very consistently. Okay. And then I separate my unit notes into each of the units that we're in. Also making sure it goes um, in order of what we're currently working on being on the bottom. The key here is making sure that things are consistent and also intuitive. You'll also see up here I have a slightly lighter folder called Fall Materials. You'll see this is unpublished. So I am making this video in the spring. That means that, last semester is now closed. I do want to keep all my materials in the course, but I don't want it to be visible and be confusing to students. I don't want them getting stuck, going back and trying to do old stuff, or getting lost and wondering where the current materials are. However, you can see that I have nested my folders such that when I open up fall materials, you see all the activities I had in the fall, and I stayed consistent. I stayed consistent with my colors. So folders for units are green, red was practice work. I stayed consistent in that practice work included all the graded assignments, and so on. Also, notice how I'm clicking on the little arrow, which is expanding the folders. You can also just click into a folder and see things from a little more of a focused standpoint, which makes it easier to add materials from there. As far as adding folders, that's pretty simple. You go to Add Materials, Add Folder, and you can give it a name. I'm just going to say this is a folder, give it a color. And then there are a few options, such as maybe you only want it published to one of your classes. So I can publish it to section 2 and not section 3 if I want. I can limit it so that it's only published after a certain date. And I can make it go away at a certain date. I normally don't worry about this too much. However, it is there if you want things to be a bit more automated. So I'm going to click Create, and now I have a folder. I'm going to click on that folder, and I can keep on nesting folders if I want. Obviously, you don't want to get too crazy on this because you don't want things to be a bit too confusing for students, but I found it can be helpful. Maybe you're organizing a project and you have a project folder, and then within that folder, you have subparts of the project. Whatever it is that works. So now I have my nested folders. This is a folder. This is another folder. So key point, remain consistent. And I keep this structure in pretty much all the classes that I teach. I'm going to go ahead and delete this so as to not confuse my students. And that is the end of this video on how to structure and utilize folders.